G'day, here we are today with Rupert Murdoch's financial statements. These aren't the public ones, these are the ones which sit above all Rupert's assets in Australia, his Foxtel, his various newspapers and so on. And they're fresh. You can get them from ASIC yourself if you'd like to pay $42. Here they are. News Australia Holdings Proprietary Limited. That's the name of the entity. Let's have a look at some of the revelatory figures. $820 million only is the revenue in Australia. This is the number, down from $876.7 million last year. The loss is $1.7 billion after some big write-downs, some big impairment charges. But the interesting thing about this is not that Rupert's revenues keep falling, but it's that he's done a deal just after balance date on July the 2nd, which doesn't distort the accounts, which is not included in the accounts. And it looks as though he's sold Foxtel. It doesn't say where it's gone, doesn't say who bought it, but it does say this in the director's report. On July 2, 2020, the group completed a corporate restructure to simplify the Australian legal entity ownership, blah, 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 blah. News Australia Holdings, this company is no longer the controlling entity of the news and information services and subscription video services. We can assume there was a write-down of $1.5 billion on subscription video services, that is Foxtel. But it doesn't say where Foxtel has gone. Revenue in 2015 was almost $3 billion. It peaked at $3.8 billion in 2018 and has now fallen from $876 million, less than $1 billion, to $820 million. Revenue is sharply declining. In any business where your revenue sharply declines, you have to keep on cutting costs and selling stuff to keep the money coming in to pay the bankers. There's still billions of dollars worth of debt in this thing. The assets is the interesting one. In 2015, it was $7.5 billion, the assets in this, the top vehicle for Rupert Murdoch in Australia. That peaked at $10 billion in 2018, and in 2019 it was $9.7 billion. But if you work around what appears to be the effect of this deal that happened after balance date, you get $3.88 billion in total assets. Now, liabilities are $6.6 billion. What does that mean? That means that it looks like Rupert Murdoch's main company in Australia, his consolidated accounts, it looks like they are negative net assets. It's not worth anything. The liabilities are worth a lot more than the assets. Now, we put this contention to Campbell Reid, who's the spokesman. Campbell, unfortunately, is yet to get back to us. It's been quite a few days now, Campbell, so if you're watching this, you've got the number, give us a call. Does this mean that its liabilities, that Rupert's liabilities in Australia are higher than his assets? So we have a proposal for Rupert. We at Michael West Media intend to make a takeover bid for News Australia Holdings. We're considering bidding $1 for News Australia Holdings, but only on the condition that Rupert keeps his own debt, because we don't want to buy a business where revenues are falling, which has no credibility anymore as a news organisation, calls for royal commissions abounding, but we are prepared to offer $1 for News Australia Holdings on the basis that we don't assume Rupert's debt and on the basis of a radical restructuring of the business, which will entail one simple principle. We take over Rupert's business and we simply tell the truth. Over the past 5 years, the staff levels at Michael West Media have gone up thousands of percent. 8 people now working for this incredibly prosperous media organisation. Not really, but it's growing. Rupert, on the other hand, has about 8 or 9,000 people. So we have a radical restructuring plan once we take it over. We will insist that people in Rupert's media organisation tell the truth. No more propagandising, no more propagandising for government, no more lying, no more Liberal Party fanboy, fangirl stuff. Get rid of clear out all that old propagandary wood at the top, the Credlins and Kennys and Joneses and Panahis and Bolts and all of these people. Get rid of them. They're hopeless. Get some people in there that are going to tell the truth. And then, assuming that the deal is approved by the board of News Australia Holdings, we will pay $1 for the business and then undertake a radical restructuring. The one thing that can save him, it would appear, is more government money. Now, this is perhaps why Rod Sims at the ACCC has been sooled on to Google and Facebook. The government has got Rod Sims to go and conduct an investigation into Google and Facebook and propose that Google and Facebook should pay Rupert and the Liberal Party chaired Nine Entertainment Group, which now owns Fairfax, should pay these media companies money for content, even though their stuff is behind paywalls anyway. These supposed bastions of free enterprise, Rupert Murdoch, Peter Costello, begging for government money because big old mean Google and Facebook have destroyed their noble business models. So now they want to get the government involved. It's the zenith of hypocrisy, the absolute apogee of hypocrisy. In any case, it's very fitting today that while we're analysing the News Australia Holdings accounts, we are, for the first time, wearing our new range of clothing, the Rortswear range by Slush. Slush is the label. Rortswear is the summer fashion range for the sporty, outgoing type of person, or the ingoing, non-sporty type of person. It doesn't really matter, as long as you believe in a federal ICAC now. Get the t-shirt, federal ICAC now. Let's get rid of Rupert, put him to the sword. We're exposing him today for going broke anyway, so there's not much point having a Royal Commission.